Hello, everyone. It's Melissa Lloyd from Doodle Lovely, helping you calm the chaos one doodle at a time. And really, doodling is about managing emotions, decreasing stress levels, helping you to become more focused and productive. And really, doodling, there's a lot of different ways that it can help. And I'm really delighted because today we're going to be focusing on doodling as a stress management tool. And I have a very special guest who is joining me and for some doodle time. And so I'd like to introduce Melissa Blair, who, yes, it's another Melissa. And so I'm going to refer Melissa to you as Melissa B. And Melissa Blair, or Melissa B, is a holistic bodybuilder. And she's also a very fantastic, amazing fitness and nutrition coach. And I love because she's been helping clients globally build their health from the inside out. What a fantastic statement. Hi, Melissa. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm really good, thank you. I'm so grateful to see you.
I think we're both kind of giggling of like, this is finally happening. Like we have to be totally transparent and saying we have learned together in this virtual expansion of our space to not give up, to not quit, and not and just calmly just take a different approach. So I find this very gratifying that we are actually here doing this. So thank you.
Oh my gosh, my pleasure. So we've had some technical issues, and I'm delighted that each person that's here today and watching, we're going to go through a 15-minute doodle exercise for stress relief and invite some creative mindfulness into your day. And then we're going to actually have a chat around building your health from the inside out. And it's an opportunity I've got some questions and a way to, as well, after the session, to find Melissa B. So anybody that's actually watching this activity, please feel free to doodle along. As per normal, your favorite mark making tool and a couple of pieces of paper would be great. It's again going to be a 15-minute activity. Does this sound okay, Melissa?
This sounds great. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Okay. So the beautiful thing about doodling is, again, if you're ever kind of worried about, oh, I'm not artistic, it's not about that. It's literally, if you can doodle shapes and lines, you can doodle. And so I'm going to actually share my screen, and I'm going to invite you to do the doodle activity. And let me just give me one moment here. So Melissa, if you could just let me know that you actually see the screen or the sheet of paper that I'm going to be doodling on. And here we go.
Yep, we're good.
You're good?
Yep.
Okay. So the first thing that I like to do when we're kind of going into a doodle is just take a moment, because whether you're transitioning from, motherhood, work, something that, you've got a lot of chaos going around your environments, it's nice just to sit and actually be in the moment for just a moment to just kind of relax. And so we'll get ourselves ready, and we're going to create a triangle or a rectangle on our page. Now I've got my paper in portrait form, so it's a little bit longer. And again, if you're creating your rectangle, and you'll see that, look, you can tell that mine's certainly not perfected. It really doesn't matter. The whole purpose is just to give yourself some framework. So Melissa, we're going to actually take this and we're going to create 7 quadrants. So that's 6 lines. And what I invite you to do is to take a inhale, and on the exhale, you're going to just take and continue your line from one side to the other. And just practice how that feels as you go across the page. And sometimes, again, it's however you feel your breath takes you across. It could be that it's wavy, or maybe it's straight across. Just enjoying the rhythm. Now, if you get to the bottom and you go, well, actually, Melissa, I don't have quite 7, then let's just put another one in, wherever it works. So you've got your 7 quadrants?
Yes.
That's great. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we are going to fill in each quadrant, and we're going to work with the basic doodles. And the first one's going to be, it's like the zigzag, but the zigzag, as I'll show you here, is touching the bottom line and it's going up to the top, and so it's just going to move along that area that you've created. And just take notice how this particular movement feels. Does it feel awkward in your wrist, or is it a repetition that actually relaxes for you? As you go across. Now, if you've got that, I'm going to ask you to do some circles in the space, wherever you feel like they fit, wherever you want them to go, but just, we're doing a different movement in this area by actually going around with the circles. Now, why we bring it back to the basic shapes and basic lines is because, again, it's just keeping everyone in check that actually it's back to the basics and it's important. How are you for the second quadrant, Melissa?
Ready to go? Yep.
Ready to go. Okay, so the next one, we're going to actually do the swirls. And the swirl is like the end of a fiddlehead. And it's quite a playful line. And you're just going to go and wherever you feel like putting them in this area, just let your pen or your pencil do the talking. So you're going to fill this in. Then noticing how you're breathing. Are you holding it? Are you able to let it go with each swirl? So as we go around, we're exhaling any stress or any feelings. We're giving it some space. We're basically allowing ourselves to breathe through our mouth into it and breathe in. So if your little doodles get cut off, that's okay too. Just continue the process until you're happy with where the space is at. All good?
Yep.
All right, so let's move along. So we're going to go down to the third quadrant, and for this one, I'm going to create, it's almost like a little pop. And so what happens is I create little lines that kind of reflect one another. So it almost looks like a sun, but it doesn't have this circle. But there's short little stints of lines. And again, each of these movements trigger different feelings in different ways. If you're comfortable with them, or you start to notice that each one has its own characteristic. So just fill the space with these little pops of lines. Again, if you have 4 or if you have 3, it doesn't really matter. Just take the time to explore and do something different with your lines. And as you finish up this little area, start to see that your doodles are coming to life by just these simple elements. So let's just now go along the 4th quadrant, and depending on how big yours is, we're just going to actually follow the flow of the line. So we're going to be creating repetitious or repetitive lines, and maybe they get cut off, but then you can continue along in the space that you created. So as we move along, the next one is going to be one of my favorites is the leaf. So it's like a teardrop, but it's just a little bit pointy. So going along this area, this section, you can fill it up with this shape. And if they're different, that's okay. If some are thinner or some are wider, or if there's just different shapes along here, that's okay. That's the whole point, is just to kind of go with the flow. Is yours all good, Melissa?
We're good.
We're good, okay. So inside of this leaf, I'd invite you to just do dotted lines right through the center. So from the bottom up to the top, just do little dotted lines. And around the space of the leaves, if you do little dots that you fill in. So they're just little dots that are solids. Again, you may find that you go over another space and maybe you add another dot. But just taking that time to acknowledge that you're giving yourself that space to breathe. So now the next quadrant, we're actually going to cut it in half. So we're going to put a line through it. And what I'd like you to do now is on a diagonal, and I'll show you here what I'm doing, is that you're going to do a diagonal line all the way across here. And then when we get to the other part, we're going to actually do the opposite. So we're going the opposite way. So if you can start to see, they kind of reflect each other.
Okay.
In a different way. So go all the way along. Again, just realizing how every doodle that you put together here, it starts building up a complete picture. Doesn't mean to say that it's a realistic picture, but it's something that such a simple process can build up quite a beautiful little pattern. So moving along here, and again, just check in with yourself if your lines are going too quickly. Just try to slow it down. And just kind of finish and complete that area. So for the last quadrant, Melissa, is there any doodles that you'd like to suggest? Any shapes or certain lines?
No, I like going out of what I might default to. So like I really enjoy those little bursts that I never would have doodled at before. So I leave it to you. I'm
Okay.
open.
Well, because I'm looking at your lovely background, I love the brick. Let's do some rectangles, and let's do some rectangles however you wish. They can be structured, they can be not structured. Just move them across the page, and we'll have a piece of your lovely wall here in our doodle. So again, this is the great thing about when we're doodling. You can try anything and just see how it feels.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no pressure. This is a non-judgmental activity. That's why doodling is so forgiving, because you're not needing to create a specific piece. But voila, look what you ended up creating.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna bring Melissa into the forefront here. So Melissa, just let me know when you can see me.
I can see you. We are good.
We are so good. Awesome. So how did that feel?
It takes you and brings you into the present, which is why I've really enjoyed the exposure to doodling through you. So this, I guess, it's been a couple months now of doodle time. And I think it really is, it brings you into the present. And it's so often, people say like, just be in the moment. And in our minds, we think, oh yeah, it's easy to do. And until you actually, I think the key thing to this was that there's no judgment and just go with it. There's no plan to doodling. It's not like I am trying to draw a horse. I am creating through like the flow of these shapes and revealing a piece of art, which I really enjoy. So then you look at it and go, okay, maybe in the first quadrant, I wasn't really quite sure what this page would look like, but it's very pleasant to look at the diversity once it's all out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a really lovely insight. And really it's, that's why doodling is such a kind of a curious and a unique activity to do that everyone can do, because you end up building upon stuff, your confidence that you didn't know was there. You did mention, we were speaking about a couple weeks ago, that you had a little fear around creativity. And so I just wondered if you could chat a little bit about this and how you overcame this. Because a lot of people are dealing with fear of creativity, the word.
Right. I think like when we were chatting, we were talking about like artistic abilities and, you know, unfortunately the reality of life, we build labels for ourselves. And so like, I'll often say like, I am a gym jock. I can navigate the gym floor in ways, and that's a very scary domain for many people. And so when going into the art world, would I ever say that I am like an artist? No, I never would. I would never, not say never, I don't like that word, but I wouldn't default to say that I'm an artist. Am I creative? Absolutely. I'm very creative in my mind. I think when it comes to going, okay, I'm an artist, owning that label of an artist is for me, it had an attachment of approval of others to also classify that as art. And so I guess my resistance to saying, you know, I'm a good artist, I believe everyone can draw, I believe everyone can sing, and some are gifted at it and some practice it. And what I realized through the sessions that I did with you on the Facebook Lives was just like bodybuilding, just like a workout, your body is built one rep at a time. It really was being built, creativity and calmness really was being built one 30-minute session at a time. And it was just through, you are what you repeatedly do. So the more often you get in that headspace, okay, for this 30 minutes, I'm not judging what's going on this paper. I'm just taking it one movement at a time. And one thing I really enjoy about your teaching method is you connect breath and awareness to your writing tool being on the page. And that is the same as when I align that with working out in the gym. Breathing is key. You can get 30% more push to an exercise if you breathe correctly. And when we're fearful, and right now it's very relevant, you don't even realize you're holding your breath.
Absolutely.
Right? So halfway through, you're feeling kind of lightheaded and you're like, I haven't exhaled yet. so to connect with that first of just before you even start to just, okay. So I think that analogy I've used throughout some of the current days of just going, okay, now I'll respond to that question. Now I'll approach that email. Now I'll respond to my spouse. All of those things, it's very applicable. The methods that you're teaching are very applicable to allowing flow. And that's what creativity is really just not judging your flow.
Totally. Absolutely. Well,
so it's really cool.
It's so wonderful to kind of see and hear your transformation, and this will inspire a lot of people that are really fearful of, gosh, what am I creating? Well, it's the process involved, and actually how it allows you to open up in many other areas of your life once you create that opportunity or accept it. Yeah. That's super. So I have, just before I kind of ask you a whole bunch of questions, if that's okay, do you have any questions for me?
Questions for, well, I mean, I think what I find very interesting, like I really enjoy the mental connection to doodling, because doodling seems like a very mindless thing. And so I guess I would be interested in the sense of, what are some of the, I guess, like when you say doodle, you're calm. What is it about doodling that actually calms our system?
Well, it is all about the repetition and the rhythmic aspect of doodling that actually activates your relaxation response.
Okay.
And so it's a very, again, with doodling, it's been very much misunderstood, but we're learning a lot with science now that backs doodling as a way that it is a stress management tool because it's tapping into that relaxation area, that creative flow, that creative process.
Right.
Uh, and getting over or debunking, oh, it has to look a certain way. So that's why it's such a brilliant tool, because
Right.
it's allowing you to not be as fearful walking into, with your paper and your pen, and you haven't done it in so long. Uh,
Right.
it's a wonderful entry into that space. So the relaxation response is definitely connected when you start connecting that pen, those little shapes, and you'll find that depending on your mood, depending on different things, everyone will doodle a different way, which is really, I find it beautiful because it's authentic to you. And that's
Mm-hmm.
where our authenticity comes from. And so the shapes, the lines, the objects that you draw, the color of ink that you choose
Right.
as a whole, and where you put it on a page, they actually it all feeds into our emotions, our life outlook, our motivations, and a whole bunch
Interesting.
more.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So I only use black pen ever in my whole life. What does that mean? What does that
The
mean?
session is not for go into that.
But I think that there's a curiosity. So here's one follow-up question to that. So the repetition of it, can doodling not substitute but complement journaling?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And this is what I kind of bring in with one of the Creative Mind Happy Soul. I love it because I use doodling and journaling because both have been around for millennia. Whether
Right,
it's been in your caveman days, because on walls there's doodles, or journaling is one of the oldest self-care tools in the book.
right,
So the pairing is really the act of being able to get it out through your pen. That's why they
right.
say writing is such a beautiful thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
about people feel actually psychologically more creative if they're writing.
Right. I
Yeah.
found that interesting because sometimes, many times, so if I were to parallel that to the fitness world, I would get a nutrition client to food mood journal for me for at least 10 days before they come on as a client. And it has evolved to that for so many reasons, but I don't know anyone, I have yet to experience a client, including myself, who is excited to do a food journal. And what I found very interesting, so it's like, okay, why is that resistance there? And it was really an accountability.
Mm-hmm.
It was that resistance to that accountability that they felt like, you're going to be judged, right? And so same way with, like, I think many people come New Year's resolution time. A lot of people will say, I want to do a diary. I want to keep a journal. And they last till about January 10th. And then statistically, most die off in that. And it was like, same thing as writing. Writing is a muscle. So when I was practicing writing, as I write for some different companies and whatnot, or even on my own blog, when I make it a chore, or when I think that I have to perform and have something in my head to write, then I avoid it because I might wake up and just not have something. So I actually ordered the journal that you offer that has a space for doodling and for writing with words.
Mm-hmm.
And I love it because some days I don't have words to share consciously, but I do have a doodle. And I find that once I did a couple of the doodles, I had words to share. Maybe not in that same session, but later in that day. So I just wondered how that kind of paralleled maybe with your clients or...
Well, they both are explorations into that connection with creativity.
Mhm.
And a lot of the times, again, sometimes to your point, you just don't want to write anything. Or
Right.
sometimes I always say, I don't want to doodle. So then there's
Right.
gratitude sections or your mood trackers. So
Right.
as long as you're going in and you're exploring and you're doing one thing that can help that self-care regime,
Right.
it's about being able to be mindful of going back to paper, because we spend
Yes.
so much time on technology. and
Yeah.
and really what that's doing for you in that 5 minutes that you're actually taking that time to let it all out in some way.
Hmm.
And I think that's a really beautiful part of the process of pen to paper, whether it's journaling or doodling.
Agreed. Agreed. Very cool.
Yeah, so I would love to ask you some questions.
All right, let's get into it.
Because it's like, okay, so my first question, and
Yes.
it may be helpful because those of you who are on the line, actually, the top tips, and it's been since this kind of transition and change, for staying out of the fridge. Now, that's kind of a personal thing, and there's going to be two parts, but I is there top tips for staying out of the fridge? And also, there's a lot of connection between food and mood, and you had highlighted that earlier, which is
Mhm.
really important for mental health. But what are some good foods to go to help boost our mood? So yeah, that's a two-pronged question, but just curious, this snacking more, and just going to that fridge because we know we're home. Can you just offer any tips or just some understanding around what is happening?
Okay, so to start, first of all, I think it would be planning when stocking your fridge. So if when you open your fridge, like there was a funny meme, like people are getting a tan from the light in their fridge at this isolation. I was like, you're not seeing the sun, but you're seeing like you're gonna put a UV ray fridge light in. Um, you know, if you go to your fridge not knowing what you are going there for, turn around.
Great tip.
You're
So
not
being
hungry.
conscious, being really conscious.
Right? So that's where like planning, so I do menu planning for the week before the week starts. So that when you go into the fridge, perhaps like, especially if you have like family at home and whatnot, having pre-prepped meals ready in a portion size that's going to fuel you, not sedate you or, leave you still hungry. Then it's like, okay, well, maybe organizing your shelves to go, these are my breakfast foods, these are my lunch foods, here's my dinner drawer. So that when you go in there, your three major meals are ready for you. And in a snack, so, there's many different methods of eating. Like everyone has an opinion of like whether you eat 3 square meals, whether you fast. My take on that is that you need to fuel your needs for the day. So everyone would be different there as well. 3 main meals and 2 snacks or mini meals works well. And grazing or snacking is kind of a slippery label for some people. So again, it's really individual when I'm working with a client on that. But in general, I would say definitely start your day with a whole food breakfast. Anytime you eat something or anytime you move, it's like a little rev to your metabolism pedal, your energy pedal, right? So if you get up and you have a cup of coffee and you further increase your cortisol levels, which is your stress hormone, and you don't fuel it with any kind of nutrient foods, and then you go and say you do some creative work or you're working from home or you're trying to manage the kids and get them doing their work, and oh my goodness, it's 1 o'clock and you haven't eaten anything solid and you're wondering why you have a mild headache. Our body's very intelligent. It knows that glucose or sugar is going to give you energy quickly. So that's why you'll crave that food that's going to turn to sugar quickly. And unfortunately, if you don't anchor that with like a quality protein or fiber, or even a healthy fat, you spike your blood sugar and then it crashes very quickly, not taking the opportunity to
And then it
fuel.
goes back to
And then it's a vicious cycle, right? So I would say to stop that cycle is go, okay, your 3 macronutrients. Do I have a protein? Protein fuels your muscle. Do I have a carbohydrate? Carbohydrates, there are high impact and low impact carbohydrates, which is, and when I say impact, I mean the impact on our blood sugars. So energy control is really blood sugar controlling. And so you want to make sure that you're not just having high sugar, low fiber foods consistently, because then you're always kind of chasing the last buzz. And that leaves you really depleted and really lacking in energy. And then you don't feel like working out. And then it's a vicious cycle that way.
Yeah. So what would be a couple of different foods that you would recommend that would be snacking foods?
Snacking food. So I like meals in a mug.
Oh, okay.
So just because oftentimes if you're doing endless Zoom meetings, it's like you can't pull out a knife and fork and like chew on something, but you can very casually. I love bone broth right now. It's very good for your gut health, and stress attacks your digestive enzymes. So like stress, it makes your brain frenzy, but it also makes your gut health frenzy, which when your digestive enzymes are depleted, you're not absorbing the nutrients of your food. So having a food that's really hard to digest, if your digestive system is stressed or strained, is difficult. So something like a liquid form is soothing, it's calming, it's not asking too much of your body. So different bone broths are great. Smoothies are great. Having, some getting in your greens with some like frozen spinach or some frozen avocado, thinking vegetables over fruits when you're having those smoothies. Oftentimes a lot of people will be like, oh, actually I was talking to my mom about smoothie recipes and she said, oh, I have mango and berries and flax. And so she was saying, all these fruits, but there was no protein in it. And then she was like, but then I'm starving and that's because there's no grounding, there's no foundation. And I call protein the foundation. So if you use there's different protein powders that are very convenient and very cost efficient. So a really high quality whey isolate or a vegan protein powder, they're great to just get that protein block, and then put in your whole foods with some frozen fruits and veggies are great because they don't spoil. So it's a great way of just thickening that shake to more of a milkshake. So for kids, they like it more if it kind of tastes like a milkshake. Yeah. So you can do that. So I really like meals in a mug through that. Good old boiled eggs are great, just as like a easy portable protein if you have to come in and grab something, and also cost efficiency as well. They keep well in the fridge. Couple ideas there. So I would probably go.
That's great. That's great, because sometimes I find that, again, if I don't have them at my fingertips, where I just feel like it's just, okay, what am I going to have? I go for the thing that may be not good for me.
Right.
Out of just, there's convenience. I mean, the best thing is to not have it in your drawer. But right. We like to do movie nights here on Friday nights, and it's like, oh, there's an accessibility to a treat.
Right.
Sometimes they're gone on Monday.
Right.
Friday.
Totally. And I think an important thing is your body doesn't know the difference between the signal of being tired, thirsty, and hungry. It sends the same signal to your hunger to eat something. Mm-hmm. So knowing that, how has your sleep been? Are you tired? Should you just go to bed? And maybe that's more of like late night snacking. People who are late night snackers, have you shut down the screen time? Because that is stressful on your body without even knowing it. Just spending those extra hours in front of a screen will make, I remember when I went back to school and I was working full time, and just the extra screen time, I was eating in front of when I was doing my work. And there's some calories that didn't get counted. I'm going to be straight with you. And so I had to consciously make some rules. So, mine is I do not eat when I'm on the computer. Not an option. I take the time to disconnect from this and connect with the art of eating, of enjoying a meal, of sitting down, letting that same way that you take an exhale before you doodle, just exhale before you breathe. If you're eating in front of the fridge with the fridge door open, or if you're in front of the cupboard eating out of the package itself, you have not exhaled.
Absolutely. And it's really a lot of these things with regard to all our health and the components of health. It's just being able to stop. And to your point, I'll never forget this when you say stop and before you go to that fridge.
Yeah.
Really take a moment to think about, why are you there?
Right.
Are you really hungry?
Right.
What's the purpose?
Right.
Yeah. So I really.
It shouldn't be to check up to see if what you bought is there or not there. Right? Like if you're browsing, no, you're not browsing the aisles and shelves of your fridge. You should know what you're going for.
Yeah. No, that's very true. I think we're all a little close to it right now. We're seeing it in a very different way. So that's very, very helpful. And I guess that ties into as well. It kind of morphed into my other question, but it's really, really about your levels of energy and your mood. Mm-hmm. Because again, if we're not, I guess, putting the great fuel in, of course, we're not going to feel great longevity through the day, or we'll have those 3 o'clock dips. Mm-hmm. So I guess I'll move on to another question that I have. And that's about exercise routines and the regimes that right now some people are just rocking it and they're doing it every day. And then some, well, and I'm included, I've had less activity, physical activity than I would have normally before COVID. And
Mhm.
so can you share kind of how to get back into exercise or any simple exercises that you can add into the routine? And I guess I know that you also do a fair bit with Fitlicious and Blair's Boot Camp on actually making accessible for people. So maybe you can share that as well.
For sure. The key thing is, you know, similar to doodling of like not worrying about the picture being perfect,
Yeah.
is not worrying about your workout routine being perfect. Our bodies were built to move. And the conveniences of life, even if you were a gym rat before, you know, being isolated or not a gym rat before, it's like you just need to commit to daily movement. And you are statistically more likely, significantly more likely to stick with a new routine if you do it when you first get up in the morning. So what I mentioned earlier, every time you eat something or anytime you move your body, you're waking up that metabolism. You're moving, you're asking your body to create energy. So energy creates energy. And there have been times where, you know, prior to doing, we do a live workout at 5 o'clock, Monday through Friday for Blair's Boot Camp. I do a live, more of a personal training connection with my online clients on Wednesdays at 10 a.m. And I have my own fitness routine on top of that. So there are some days where I'm like,
I can imagine.
you know, and creating things of like limited, you know, how do I simulate a gym workout at home and you don't. You just move your body and you connect. It's that mind muscle connection that is so important to be, I guess, starting with, I start my day with a gratitude, thank you, God, that I have the ability to move my body. I affirm, thank you, that I am healthy and able. I don't have to do this. I get to do this. That's number one in any season of life when it comes to fitness, not just now, but forever ongoing, right? And then being forgiving to go, okay, I am going to use your calendar device or whatever smart device you use in a smart way of scheduling your health movement into it. So I carve out on I use iCal, I put in my cardio session, when I'm going to do it, how long I'm going to do it, and I have it in my favorite color, pink, that pink block, because I associate that with something I love, right? So then I have to, you know, if you're just starting it, maybe put a reminder, make it have a reminder. You have a noise that reminds you have to jump on a Zoom call. Why would you not have a reminder to say, you know what, I need to pause and breathe and exercise and move my body, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
those are little things, you know. Another thing is knowing that, you know, if there is a treat food you enjoy, you can pair that to be part of your meal after your workout, post-workout. So I love dark chocolate. I have dark chocolate every day, almost. 85% or higher dark chocolate. I have that post-workout.
That's your.
So it's almost like Pavlov. We really are trainable animals. That's basically what we are. So if I start drooling about the chocolate, but I know I have to move my body first, it's a win-win because then I associate that movement with the reward that I love. Yeah. And it's that simple. So, you know, it could be that. But I would say just start by scheduling it into your day. Start with 20 minutes minimum, because it will take you 10 of those minutes just to get those endorphins going for you to associate it with something that's good for you. So if you just say, oh, I'm just going to do 5 minutes. So what I've actually created in this prior to this season, but because I have clients that are very busy and, you know, or if you're working from home ongoing or have kids, you don't have time for a full hour, but you do have time for 15 minutes. So I created these 15-minute blocks.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah, that you can build together. So you can do 15 minutes or you could do 30 minutes because it's 2 blocks put together to create that 30-minute. And then you might end your day with another 15 or 30-minute block to create that whole picture for that day. So I think just starting with a realistic start point, and whether you feel like it or not, you do it. Don't break the promise with yourself for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
so that you can actually adapt to that, because it's very much, it goes hand in hand. If you are working out, you will eat better, and vice versa. But it's like, sometimes people are waiting, well, I don't feel like it, so I guess this eating healthy is not working. Rah, eat something bad, right?
It's
And it's like,
amazing. It's amazing how we can chat with ourselves and justify what we.
absolutely, So
Well,
there's like, yeah,
that's really, really helpful. And I mean, the thing is, with a lot of these pieces, and I believe we've got a similar philosophy in terms of starting really in a simple way, so that it's not this huge, massive thing that you're trying to create and transform, and then you get to the first or second or third day, and then you don't do it, and it's the same cycle in terms of kind of feeling sorry for yourself, and that you're kind of beating yourself up. So
right.
starting small, 15 minutes, that's that little space for you in a day, which I love, and I'm going to take that, and I'm certainly going to work on my own regimes. so
Right.
thank you for that. Is there anything else that you kind of would like to add in? After we, if you share what you would like to share about any other tips, I would also love for you to share where people can find you, because for a lot of people that may be watching this, your tips are really, really important. It's all part of this whole body connection.
Right.
So
Ongoing. So getfitlicious.com is my website, and everything streams out from there. So it would be the same on Instagram. I'll do like some just easy recipe tips. I love food. I am a foodie. So if I'm not, doing something physical, I really do like playing with food. And it has been, that you have to, there's a whole nother, I mean, you've got a whole family to provide for now. Or people who creating tips like that. So getfitlicious.com would host everything off of there. It would be the same on Instagram, getfitlicious. As well as Facebook would be Get Fitlicious on Facebook. So, but if you go to getfitlicious.com, you can email me directly with any specific questions or check out any of the resources there.
that's amazing. Well, I'll make sure as well that I put it in the chat below.
Okay.
And so people can find you if they've got any questions, or if they want to reach out and kind of start to understand a little bit more about what you do in those 15-minute routines, and kind of show up in their way to nurture their physical and emotional health. That's awesome. I want to thank you so much for being here and doodling with me. This is the first time I've ever had someone
awesome.
doodle
Thank
with
you.
me, so that was a real treat. And I appreciate that you're helping people transform themselves. And I want to invite everyone that's watching, again, take that time to carve out for your physical well-being, the nutrition element, and of course the creative time. There's ways that we can fit it all in. It's just about being really kind of conscious of our schedules, and kind of making those windows happen. So until next time, everyone, I'd love to say doodle on. And see you later, Melissa.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.